to another episode of The Walk. My name's Gareth, I'm back with my mate Phil.
I do.
And we are in the Derbyshire village of South Wingfield. Now we're here to look at Wingfield Station. It was built in 1840 by the North Midland Railway and it closed in 1967. Now after that it was basically just left to become decrepit and derelict. But in the last couple of years some people have brought it back to life. So we're going to come and meet a guy called John Abbott who's going to show us around and show us the progress they've made. So here we go, here's the driveway off the road that goes down into South Wingfield. We've got rails. Now me and you, Phil, this was our second walk, wasn't it? We did...
I ain't counting, mate, but it was definitely a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were looking at the local collieries and we came here, and at that point it was still sort of derelict, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I was on the hunt for colliery remains. It was a bit of an handful, wasn't it?
It was a bit of a handful, but we walked around this yard and we basically had a bit of a look. Now at that point it was sort of a building site, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Pretty much. Now
done, possibly.
We've kind of had a look at the progress they've been making online. They've been putting stuff up on the Facebook page and stuff, and it looks great. But we've wanted to get in here, but Phil, Mr. Logistics,
yep,
has sorted it with John, who's going to show us around, so I'm very excited about this. Full disclosure, Phil, before we go in and meet John, do you want to tell us about this chap here?
Yeah, he spooked me when I just saw it on there. I don't know much about him.
We were driving up and he got spooked. It's just a mannequin.
Do you want any milk in yours?
Oh mate, he's making us a coffee and a tea as well. Mate, look at this. He's give us a coffee and a tea, Phil.
I might have to do another video here again, I think, soon.
Oh mate. John, thank you so much. We'll introduce you to the audience. So John Abbott, what is your role here?
So I'm one of the trustees of the small charity that now run, operate and develop Wingfield Station for the public and local community.
We've done a great job, mate. So what would this have been? Is this the ticket office here?
Yeah, so this is a combination of the ticket office and general waiting room.
Right.
I should explain, the station has been restored as close as possible back to its opening condition, which was on the 11th of May 1840 as part of the new Derby to Leeds North Midland Railway. So when the station first opened here, there wasn't such a thing as conventional railway tickets. They'd yet to be invented, and the money would be stored in the station safe. And the station safe has been fully restored and is still in situ on the other side of that alcove wall there. So if you just...
Oh, let me have a look.
Here,
oh, yeah.
See the original station safe.
Mate.
Which was manufactured by a company called Milners of Speke in Liverpool, who at the time were the world's largest safe manufacturers. So once the passenger had got their ticket, they could then wait in here where there would have been some seating, probably bench type seating, and then they could exit the waiting room via the two doors onto the platform.
What would have been the platform, yeah.
Okay, so,
let me have a look then, ladies and gentlemen.
And generally speaking, they would have used this door, which is the southbound door, to go onto the Derby side platform, or they'd have used the northbound door to walk to the end of the platform, go down the ramp and cross the tracks to cross to the northbound platform where trains to Chesterfield, Rotherham, Leeds would have stopped on the other side of the tracks.
God, could you imagine crossing the main line now across the tracks?
Correct.
So this is staggered platforms,
yes.
Then we're out here, yeah, it's not a...
Yes.
Because, you know, when we look at this with an untrained eye, we think the platforms have been scraped up, but that's not the case, is it?
Yeah.
They was up there, weren't they?
Yes, that's right. It was diagonally opposite or offset platforms, mainly for reasons of space.
Yeah.
Because there was a siding opposite the station platform this side, the original goods siding. So there wasn't room to put a platform beyond that because the land next door is owned by the church. So they had to build the platform a little further north.
Got you. A bit further down.
Got you. And that platform sadly was demolished once the station closed, and it was demolished by British Rail a couple of years later.
Got you.
To reduce maintenance liabilities. But if we come back to this room, all of the original features are still here. You have the original fire surrounds, 2 of them to project heat into the room, and they've been restored to their original 1840
That's incredible.
appearance, which was hand painted to look like marble.
So it's not marble then?
It's not marble.
Right.
It's basically shaped limestone blocks, but carefully painted to look like marble.
They've done a good job.
And the whole interior of this building is designed to look like a country house, really. It's a very, very early railway station, so there was no blueprint about what a station should look like in those days. So they tried to make it look like a comfortable country house style. So you may see that adjacent to these doors and further round are wooden panelling on the lower walls.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Again, serves no purpose other than to create a comfortable atmosphere for the passengers. Large doubles height ceiling here.
I was going to say they are huge ceilings.
With very, very attractive hand-made cornicing running around the edge of the ceiling. And this double height room was designed to project a sense of quality to the building and also confidence, so the new passenger could place their confidence that they could safely travel on the new North Midland Railway as part of the railway age. So it was designed to impress people. It served no other purpose other than to impress.
Yeah.
The woodwork, as in the windows and doors, is all original.
The wood is original?
Yes, so the door is an 1840 survivor, and
that's incredible.
Door, as are the platform doors, as are all the internal doors, apart from the 2 on this side of the building, which went missing after the station closed. But these doors have been handmade to look exactly like the other internal
They do,
doors.
they've done a good job. I can't believe that's an original 1840 door.
Correct.
Wow.
So obviously the windows needed repair as part of the restoration, as did the doors, but yes, they are amazingly original, and most of the glass in the building is also original. The restoration only required 5 planes of glass to be replaced, even though the station had been closed since 1967.
So you can tell it's a nice area then, because windows wouldn't survive in Alfreton, would they, Phil?
It's fortunately, once the station closed, it was used for 10 years. It was rented out to a local entrepreneur who used the station and the site for coal mining conveyor belt refurbishment, which meant the site was always occupied even once it closed. And so that's probably what saved the station, because otherwise British Rail would probably have demolished it in 1967.
Oh, here we go.
We've got a train, one of the cross-country services heading south. So that's this little room here. After about 20 years, the railway had invented what we understand to be more modern tickets, you know, the card-type Edmondson tickets. They required more equipment. They required racks to store the tickets in order. They required machines and cupboards and things. So at that stage, what you understand to be a booking office became a requirement for all railway stations. So in about 1860, the archway behind you there was actually filled in to create a separate booking office next door.
Right.
With the classic booking office window.
The hatches here then, basically.
Yes, that's it.
Magic.
Had a single window and a counter. Booking clerk would have been that side, passengers this side. So anybody who can remember using Wingfield Station in the 1950s and 60s, that's what they would have seen when they walked through the main entrance. But of course, the station itself goes back to 1840, and that's the look and feel that's been created here, which makes Wingfield the oldest surviving completely original railway station in the world, which is why so much effort has gone into restoring the building to its original condition.
Amazing.
It's only from when you just said that about giving passengers confidence in 1840, because I guess then people were probably a bit scared of getting on the train, weren't they? So it's a fact that I would never have thought about until you've just actually said that, and I can put it into place now.
There was certainly a medical opinion in the 1830s and 40s that if you went above 30 miles an hour, all the air would be sucked out of your lungs and you would die. Yeah. So this is, now obviously we now know that's complete nonsense, but of course in those days they weren't used to such speeds. Mankind was used to travelling as fast as a horse. You could ride a horse basically. So it was all new technology. So in terms of this building and other railway buildings of that era, they were designed to try and instill confidence in the travelling public. So that's briefly this room here. I should add that in order to try and preserve the character of the building, as much as possible, the modern world has been kept to a minimum. So, for example, there are no wall sockets or there are no light switches, because that would have portrayed more modern features.
So how do you do the refrigerators and stuff like that?
A good question. So all the power goes through the floor here.
Right.
The heating now, underfloor heating, the services and power were all put into the floor. And the reason why that was allowed is because the floor in the original station was wooden, a timber floor, which of course after it closed very quickly rotted away. Yeah. So the original floor had gone, and when the coal mining conveyor belt business was in operation here, they replaced the timber floor with a concrete floor in order to provide hard standing. So that wasn't original, so when it meant the restoration came along later, the floor could be dug up and an insulated floor put in, these tiles put over the to make it durable, and all the services sunk into the floor. So this is the one concession, if you like, to the modern world, but it does more or less preserve the character of the rest of the interior of the building.
The attention to detail is amazing. It is, isn't it?
Yes.
Incredible.
Magic, to be honest.
That's right. One of the requirements from Historic England was that all of the original building techniques needed to be employed in restoring the building, both outside and inside, which meant everything had to be done on site. So nothing could be pre-manufactured and brought to site.
Right.
All the carpentry had to be done on site. All of the stone masonry had to be done on site. All of the cornicing had to be handmade on site. All of the lime plaster work done on site. So exactly the same techniques as employed to build the station in the first place.
Okay, so John's going to take us to the ladies' waiting room now.
Right.
There's no one in it.
Way, everybody. So, welcome to the ladies' waiting room at Wingfield Station, and when this opened in 1840, this would have been the exclusive preserve, obviously, of women, and specifically first and second class female passengers. So in 1840 there was strict class and gender segregation, so any unaccompanied first class or second class female passenger would have been able to wait in here in safety, free from the attentions of men.
Right.
The only men that would have been allowed in here were the railway porters, who would have made up the fire, would have cleaned it, and would have also lit the oil lamps to so they could see in the room.
Would women have been hassled then?
Yes,
they would have. Right.
Yes. And there was very little mixing of social classes in 1840, so that's why they had to protect first and second class female passengers. There were delicate things, they had to be looked after.
Okay, from us peasants.
That said, if you were a third class female passenger, you were just expected to rough it with everybody else.
That sounds about right.
Yes. Now, in order to look after the first and second class passengers, this room was decorated to a higher specification than the rest of the station. The fire surround, which again is painted to look like marble, but is actually of higher quality.
Oh, yeah, it is stone, isn't it?
Yes,
it looks so much like marble.
Fantastic. Large country house style skirting around the base of the walls. A large picture window so they could see out.
I think we've timed that perfect. Is this a Sprinter, is it?
A freight train.
Freight train.
Going back to Hull.
Oh, sorry.
That's it.
I thought you said fake train, that's why I thought it was a spread.
And most eye-catchingly, the original wallpaper. So how do we know this was the original wallpaper? Well, prior to the restoration of the station starting, some conservation experts spent about a week here at the station analysing the finishes on the woodwork, the walls, doors, and included in this room. And there were indeed 8 layers of wallpaper which they had to scrape off, and eventually they found a small fragment of the original base layer of wallpaper.
And that was this?
Yes, and they were able to then take or send that sample wallpaper down to the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, who could then match the pattern and send it to a specialist manufacturer to remake, which is what you now see here. Now, if we then fast forward to the late 1870s, the Midland Railway, by which time had taken over the North Midland Railway, who built this railway, in an act of social reform, the general manager, a man called James Allport, decided to abolish 3 classes of travel and decide instead that in the Midland Railway we only have first and third class travel. So he was abolishing 3 classes, going to 2, and third class would be upgraded effectively to what was second class.
Why not just call it first and second?
Well, that's it. This is the railway sometimes.
Oh, okay.
But effectively, yeah, third class accommodation became second, which meant facilities like this were then available for all female passengers, regardless of class. Now, that was a significant change, and the Midland Railway pioneered that amongst all British railway companies. So once that happened, this facility was then used by any lady right up until the day the station closed in 1967. This remained the ladies' waiting room.
How nice is John, by the way? Well, this is the porter's room then, John.
That's it. So in here, this was staff accommodation, and it was called the porter's room, and it's generally where the porters would have had a combination of recreational facilities and also where they would have done the paperwork.
Right.
So the railway had a tremendous amount of clerical work to be done, wagon labels to be filled in, goods rates to be calculated, other forms to be filled in. So the porters would have done that in this little room undercover, but they would have also been able to use this remarkable stove, which is officially called a Nelson Dreadnought Mark I stove.
Right.
And in this stove was a multifunctional stove, so it would have projected heat to keep them warm. They could have heated food on top of it, or drink on top of it, and also in the stove.
It's got a little oven.
Correct.
Oh, mate.
So this
Quality.
was a multifunctional stove. When the station, it's an original survivor from the station, but was in a poor state of repair. So this is the one item of equipment that had to be sent away for specialist restoration and then re-installation back at the station.
You've done a great job.
I'm not sure if your video can pick it up, but this is a photograph taken of what the stove looked like.
Oh, let's see if you can, ladies and gentlemen.
So it's
It looks
that level of detail.
it looks like a
that
ghost.
there is unbelievable that you'd even make the effort to actually put that there.
I think it's fantastic, mate.
Yeah.
Such a good job.
So otherwise,
Awesome.
yes, as you can tell, much more basic fire surround, unlike the public areas, but they still had one, still had the panelling, and obviously, yeah, still the lime plaster work on the walls. Next door, which is now the visitors' toilet, would have been the parcel store.
Okay.
So in that little room next door is where parcels would have been stored, pending loading onto trains or pending delivery to the local area via the railway horse-drawn transport. So that's your porter's room.
Right, so John's bringing us outside now. We're going to go to the goods shed.
So this is the goods shed, and it's a more rudimentary building. So as you look on the outside of the main
That's so
station,
grand.
you can see the quality of the stonework, the quality of the finish,
The chimneys.
large overhanging eaves, the lovely chimneys, the whole beautiful symmetry of the building. Come to the goods shed. It's a bit more basic, but it still has some good quality features.
Yeah, absolutely.
The goods shed was built about 20 years after the station. So station opened in 1840. This building opened in about 1860. and was part of the upgrade of the goods facilities here at the station. So the goods shed had large double doors that led out onto the platform, and large double doors this side which led out into the goods yard.
Yeah.
This is what is now our car park, but would have been the goods yard. So if you can imagine, there would have been horse-drawn wagons coming up the station approach road into the goods yard. The wagons would have been unloaded, and there was a long siding at the rear of the station here.
Oh, so there was tracks here then?
Correct.
Oh, amazing.
So right into the far corner, there was a siding that ran all the way across in front of the big crest there, in front of the station house, and it joined up with the main line just before the railway bridge. Similarly, behind you on the other side is the goods dock.
Oh, okay.
So was there a crane arm somewhere?
Yes, there was. And in fact, the crane is actually pictured in this photograph.
Oh, so there's a dock here then, goods dock here.
That's it. So
Right,
this,
so-
this goods dock, a photograph on there, which you might be able to pick up, hopefully.
So this
shows
is-
the
this
crane.
is-
These are so...
This isn't just a tin pot picture that someone's put up. This has
No.
gone to so much effort to
try
make it, and
and-
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Incredible. So that then is
The five-ton crane.
there.
The crane is roughly where the HST planter is.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Behind that is the cattle dock, where cattle would have been held pending loading onto special cattle wagons, or unloaded from cattle wagons pending a farmer coming to collect them. The platform in front of us was level with the floor of railway wagons in the siding next door.
Right.
And it meant that they could load goods wagons as easily as possible, often by pushing the load straight onto the wagon or pushing them off. But if they needed to, they could use the crane for heavier loads. And possibly the most interesting feature is right in front of us here. So when the railway was open, this was actually ramped with soil. So you may be able to see some of the discoloration in the stonework there. That marks how the soil was built up into a ramp, which was level with this metal plate.
Right.
And originally that was built so that horse-drawn carriages and wagons could be rolled on or rolled off railway flat wagons or carriages.
Got ya.
Later, when the motor vehicle was invented, you could drive a motor vehicle on and off trains here at Wingfield Station. And indeed, in 1947, the LMS advertised, yes, you could send or receive a motor vehicle to or from Wingfield Station to anywhere in the country.
Can you imagine that nowadays?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
I'm just thinking how you getting
Motor
a...
rails completely
That's it.
died out now,
Yes.
isn't it?
I'm thinking
Yes.
how you're getting a car around there. That's a hairpin.
Yes. So yeah, you've driven it up the ramp and then quite a steep incline, and then straight on to effectively a specialist wagon.
Amazing.
So that's your goods dock. So that was quite a good facility. It was serviced by its own separate siding. And here comes
You're about to be interrupted, John.
Yep. That's the Sheffield Intercity heading north. So it had its own siding with a set of points to access the main line. And where we are now, this chunk of wall here is basically at the bottom of the ramp of the platform and marked the crossing point. So the barrow crossing or the wooden crossing would
Would have been
across
here,
the
so
track
that's where you go
right across
across.
here. And then it would have gone across to the other side of the tracks, and then you'd have gone up the platform on the other side to get onto the northbound platform.
So the building that was depicted in that image there is basically there then?
Correct,
Yeah.
that's absolutely right. That was the waiting room for the northbound platform.
Got ya.
Yeah.
So how did, for example, the divide between the ladies and the men's waiting room, how did that carry on there? That wouldn't have had a generous...
No, that's it. So that's where the social
Right, it stopped when
divide
she was out of the
stopped,
building then, yeah?
You'd expected the porter to have escorted the female first
Wow.
and second class passengers onto the train, made sure they weren't hassled, got into their lovely first class carriage or whatever, and off they went, you know.
Got ya.
So yeah, that was the way it worked. Because of course a place like Wingfield, although small in size, would have had a significant complement of railway staff.
Yeah.
It would have had the station master in the station master's house, which we'll look at in a moment. It would have had obviously the booking clerk. It would have had numerous porters who not only looked after the passengers, but they helped load and unload railway wagons. They also were responsible for painting and maintaining the station, cleaning it. and loading and unloading things on and off of passenger trains, etc. You'd have had horse-drawn wagon drivers based here at the station, because you had to then distribute things from the station to the local community. You had a livery of railway horses based here, so you had the horsepower for wagons and carriages. You'd have had the signalmen working in the signal box. You'd have had the permanent way team based here, patrolling the track between Ambergate and Stretton. You'd have had a weighing machine boy responsible for weighing things.
How are they making a profit?
So all of this would have been going on here in its heyday.
So this is why when you see the classic shot then of the station master, there's sometimes 10 or 20 people thinking, why do you need that many? It's only a small country retreat, and now you've just really
you would have done.
explained it all.
And
so
indeed,
well dressed as well.
Beyond that, you even had a shunting locomotive crew here, fireman, driver and shunter, who would have been responsible for working, obviously,
the stuff in the yard.
Wagons, and also the local colliery branch, and also the Sherland colliery branch about a mile north of here. All of that would have been controlled via the station master at Wingfield. So you can see why now, certainly in the 19th century, it was regarded as a highly responsible and well-paid job, which it was, you know, because you had all of these responsibilities.
So here's the station then, we've got people on the station. Now that, you were just saying, that's Wingfield Manor.
That's right, so that is the ruin of Wingfield Manor in the 19th century.
Right.
Now in the 19th century, Wingfield Manor was a tremendously popular tourist attraction. Amongst other things, it was visited by people like D.H. Lawrence, Charles Dickens, all sorts of luminaries. And so that's one reason why there's a station here at Wingfield, and one reason why the station is only actually called Wingfield as opposed to South Wingfield, because it's named after the manor. And the railway company were keen to tap into that tourist traffic to go to and from the manor. So they named the station after the manor. And out the front of the station here, they would have laid on transportation for people to get off a train up the mile or so to the manor, where in this stylised painting of the manor, you could then enjoy a visit and then have afternoon tea served in the quadrangle of Wingfield Manor next to the famous walnut tree.
So Wingfield Manor is actually famous for Mary Queen of Scots. That's where she was held before, unfortunately. Obviously, she had her head chopped off. There's your mate, Phil, again. It freaked Phil out earlier, didn't it?
Yeah. So he's called Sam, his nickname's Sam because he's named after Mr. Sam Hunt, who was the longest serving railway employee at Wingfield Station. Sam was employed on the railway here from 1913 until he was made redundant when the station closed in 1967.
Oh my goodness.
So he had a remarkable career on the railway. He only had one job, which was to be a porter, but he loved the station with a passion. He was not only the porter, but he was responsible for cleaning it, painting it, looking after the station gardens, and he generally loved the place with a passion.
I'm gutted for Sam that they made him redundant.
That's it, yes. Interestingly, he only ever lived in the Yew Tree pub in South Wingfield, so he lodged there all his life. So
really?
He used to walk down from the pub to the station.
So he retired after this? He didn't go anywhere else?
No, he was made redundant in 1967 and sadly died a year later because his whole being, for reason for being, had suddenly been taken away.
Yeah, that's sad.
Is a real sad story. So he's our little tribute to Sam. So every time we clean the floors or look after the station, we think of Sam. So, but if we look behind us here now, is the station master's house.
It's for sale.
Indeed. So if anybody wishes to buy the house, you can live in an 1840 station master's house. Exactly the same architect designed that house. Francis Edward Thompson designed the house, the station, as well as all the other North Midland Railway stations. And the station itself, Station Master's House, was there and used by all 17 station masters at Wingfield from 1840 until the last one left in 1965.
So was it unmanned after 1965 for 2 years?
1965 for the last 2 years. It was being run down, so they didn't bother replacing the station master, and instead the station master at Alfreton also was responsible for the station here at Wingfield.
Got you.
And then in 67, sadly, both Alfreton closed and Wingfield closed at the same time.
This freight, John?
This is another passenger coming up now. Yeah.
There we go. John's got the ear for it.
Yeah. The station house is Grade 2 listed and was sold by the railways in 1977. So after the coal mining conveyor belt business here ceased in 77, British Rail decided to sell the whole site. So they sold the station master's house as one lot.
Right.
They sold the house next door to that, the station cottage, as another lot. The main station buildings, goods shed and goods yard, as another lot, and all the adjacent woodland as a fourth lot.
Okay.
So they had a big auction, sold the lot off, and it resolved them of any future liabilities. So fortunately, or the person who bought the station and goods yard and all the woodland effectively did absolutely nothing with it, which is why it survived as this time warp, really.
Yeah.
So that I can't think of a single place in the country where you've got such an original site. You've not just got the station, which is completely unaltered from its opening condition. You've got the goods yard, the goods dock, the whole of the former goods yard, which has not changed at all, and you've even got the station master's house. Nothing has changed here.
It's fantastic. How much is that going for? Or do I not?
450,000.
If you're watching, can you lend us sort of 400 grand?
This is the other major feature here at Wingfield Station.
That's
and this
amazing.
enormous chunk of stone here, which weighs some 26 tons,
Whoa.
is the crest of the North Midland Railway Company.
So where was this?
So this crest was one of 4 made, and a pair of them were originally on the very first Derby station, towering above the entrance. To proclaim the station was owned by the North Midland Railway Company, and the other pair were on the other end of the line at Leeds, the first station at Leeds, which signified the start and finish of the North Midland Railway.
So how did you come by that?
Well, this itself is an amazing survivor. What happened is, once Derby station had the first of its many rebuilds, this crest and the other crest, there were 2 of them, were removed and would have been thrown away, but one of the shareholders of the then Midland Railway decided to save this crest.
Oh, I'm glad he did.
By dismantling it and moving it to his garden in Old Little Overhaul, Derby.
Right.
So it then resided at Old Little Overhaul, Derby until 2023. That site was in turn sold for redevelopment, and so the developers donated the crest to Wingfield Station.
Oh, that's very kind of them. What does the crest mean then, John? 'Cause I was looking at that trying to work out what it was.
Yeah, so the crest of the North Midlands signified the 3 principal towns on the route.
Okay.
So you've got the Buck in the Park of Derby, marking the start of the railway, the Sheaf of Arrows, or the Arrow Sheaf of Sheffield, and then the Golden Fleece of Leeds, which marked the other end of the line.
Got you.
So that's the stylised crest of the North Midlands.
So there's the station master's house. So you've just said to Phil there, a line went across here.
This is diagonally across the station approach road was the siding that ran across, effectively in front of where the crest is, right into the corner by that visitor board at the far
Oh, in the
end,
far corner,
by
yeah.
the big tree, was the goods siding.
Did it have a platform or no?
No, it was completely. The purpose of the granite sets was to create hard standing, so that goods could be loaded and unloaded off hard standing without sinking into the ground.
Got you.
This is our new embryonic station garden area, and also the new access to the woodland trail we're making at the station. But that is part of an original gas lamp that we found at the station. So we've re-erected it upright next to the woodland entrance here, and we're going to put a new lamp on the top of it. So,
fantastic.
So it will work again, albeit powered by electric and
Yeah, well, that's
gas.
fine. That's fine. We can pretend.
We strolled very short distance down here.
Look at that. Mate. Sorry, I got distracted then, John.
That's the station master's house.
It's beautiful.
Next
It's big, isn't it?
The station cottage.
So who would have lived in the station cottage if the station master was in
That was generally lived in by the booking clerk and their family.
Got you.
But occasionally was used by the permanent way supervisor. But mainly the booking clerk. So you had the 2 principal people, the station master on that side, booking clerk on that side. So they had a very, very short commute to work.
Yeah.
And then if we follow the pathway down here, this will very, very quickly come across the site of what was the original Colliery Railway here. And as we go down the station approach road. And if we continue down here...
So what would this have been, John? Because that to me looks like a level crossing post.
That is actually a much later
addition.
So
okay.
that post-dates the station closure. Effectively, it was put in here when the coal mining conveyor belt business was in operation here.
Right,
as a gateway.
Less interesting then.
So yes, it's not unfortunately a bit of railway history, that one, but nonetheless it's a bit of...
It's still history, yeah.
Now we come to these granite sets here, and this marks the path of the original Colliery Railway that we saw on the map back on the goods dock. So the line would have curved round from the main line, curved very sharply round, and by the time it reached the fence it was already curving back towards the main road. So
very sharp then.
Very, very sharp curve. We've found these these original sleepers and things on the site here.
Really? So that went off into Oakerthorpe Colliery.
Yeah, that's right. Waterloo Colliery was in the field next door.
Right.
Which was a very early colliery, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. So is that a spoilie we're looking at there? Or is that the quarry, the old quarry?
It's
the
quarry. Yeah, that's it. Quarry at that side.
Nearly
Waterloo Colliery only actually had a service life of about 3 years.
I did read that up.
Very
yes,
short.
I did see that.
It's but then the line curved round, crossed the main road, Holm Lane, and then into Oakerthorpe.
Right.
Where you came to the pits that had a much longer life, including Wingfield Manor Colliery.
Those crazy spoil heaps. You can still see them now, can't you? They're enormous things.
In fact, that beautiful wood over there, Sure Wood, it is actually part of the old pit tip from Wingfield Manor Colliery.
So it would have looked very different back then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and fortunately we've acquired some pictures of what it used to look like when it was open. It was absolutely huge. It completely dominated the whole landscape round here because it went up to a very sharp tip.
I remember seeing them. I'm sure you might have included one on the video. Or
the previous video, I think I did,
Quite eye-opener, I remember.
That's right, it was huge, that's right. Obviously, after the colliery closed in the 70s, it was the subject of extensive landscaping, so they capped the whole of the top of the pit tip off, and then moved all the soil to landscape it. And then it's been subject to extensive tree planting now. So it's getting more and more difficult to really understand that there was ever really
how it would have been,
industrial activity there.
Is this fence original? Because we've seen some old railways where the fences look like that. Yeah.
So this is part of what was a railway fence here. So that's all still original. This is obviously a bit of railway repurposed sleepering.
Yeah.
And if you come this side, you can see perhaps a bit more clearly the track bed.
Oh yeah, bosh, straight onto the main line.
Curved round to join the main line, which is the other side of those Network Rail gates. So that's your original colliery line, but really, as I say, only lasted about 20 to 25 years before they decided to put in that new connection a little bit further south.
So that's us. Thank you so much for watching. John, what a legend. Thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Mate, done an amazing job. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.